What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about the HARP score streak in Black Ops Cold War because it is currently broken. I've had so many tweets and comments asking me if I'm aware of this, and asking if there's anything you can do to avoid this. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing exactly what is broken with the HARP score streak and why it keeps breaking, as well as something you can do to minimize the odds of running into this broken version of the HARP while playing. So let's just dive right into it, and it turns out the HARP is actually broken in two ways. The first way is for hardcore modes specifically. The HARP currently, when you call it in, it doesn't pull up your minimap like you see with a spy plane. When you call a spy plane in, this is when you and your teammates will suddenly get a minimap, and then alongside that minimap you get the sweeping spy plane until it expires and then your minimap goes away. With the HARP, it will expose people on your minimap if you already have a minimap up. However, it won't pop up that minimap for you and your teammates when you call it in, unlike a spy plane. And what this means is you must stack a HARP with a UAV if you want to actually take advantage of the HARP. So obviously, if you are playing hardcore modes and you really want to use that HARP score streak before they end up fixing it, make sure you're also using a spy plane, and then save that spy plane until you earn the HARP, and then call both of those in at the same time. With that one, there's really no other way around it. That's really the only quote-unquote fix for that. But now let's move into the other part of the HARP that's broken, and I think this is what's frustrating the most players because it affects all modes, not just hardcore. There's a weird interaction with the jammer field upgrade that completely screws up the HARP. And I've heard a lot of rumors that it was the jammer causing this issue, so I went in, I did the testing for myself here, and it turns out I found some very interesting results. So the first part here is if you have a jammer field upgrade and the enemy calls a HARP in, any one of your teammates that have entered the radius of your jammer at any point in their current life, they will not show up on the HARP. So even if you had this jammer called in a while ago and you put it in your spawn, a teammate spawns next to your jammer and then they run out of that area and they end up on the opposite end of the map without dying, that player won't be showing up when the enemy calls a HARP in. Also, if the enemies already have a HARP active and then you place a jammer down, it has the same effect. You and all of your teammates that enter the radius of that jammer will be completely hidden from that HARP until you die and respawn, even if you don't stay within the radius of that jammer. And I think that's where the biggest issue lies here. It's not the fact that the jammer will hide you while the HARP is active if you're standing within the radius of it. It's the fact that you just have to touch the radius once in that lifetime and it will protect you all over the map from that HARP. So perhaps the idea behind this was the jammer is supposed to be a counter to the HARP, where if you are standing within the radius of one of your teammates' jammers, then you will be protected from being seen by the HARP. But I don't believe that characteristic is supposed to carry over once you exit the radius of that jammer or once that jammer is destroyed. That's another thing. That jammer can be destroyed at any point. But again, as long as you touch the radius of that jammer, at any point in your current life, you're hidden from a HARP. And I did find that to be pretty interesting. However, I decided to take this a little bit further, and what I found out here is this doesn't just apply to your teammates' jammers. This also applies to enemy jammers, which is insane. So let's say it's a situation where I myself have earned a HARP, I'm also using a jammer on my setup, and I place that jammer down before calling in my HARP. Any enemy that enters the radius of my jammer will have that characteristic applied to them that makes them completely hidden to my HARP for the remainder of their life. And this one to me is completely crazy and 100% broken here. There is no way whatsoever that this is an intended mechanic that enemies just have to get close to your jammer in order to protect themselves from your HARP. That doesn't make any sense at all. You shouldn't be hidden because you entered the radius of an enemy's jammer. Maybe a teammate's, but definitely not an enemy's. So yeah, clearly some pretty big issues with the HARP. However, now that we understand how this works, we can do a few things to maximize the odds of the HARP actually working in our favor. The first thing is just don't run the jammer. And if you're playing with an organized team, ask the people you're playing with to also avoid using the jammer, because it's only going to be hurting them as well. Even if you're the one that calls the HARP in, if your teammates put a jammer down, any enemies that touch the radius of that jammer will then be hidden from your entire team. So tell your teammates to avoid running the jammer and avoid running it yourself. And then also on the other side of that, what you want to do when you earn your HARP is pull up the full map, which a lot of people don't know how to do this. If you pull up your scoreboard, you can actually tab over and see the full overview of the map in real time. And on this map, you can see if there are any enemy jammers placed anywhere on the map. Even if they're on the complete opposite side of the map from you, you can still see it when you pull up this full version of the map. So before calling your HARP in, have a look on that full version of the map. If you see that the enemy does have a jammer placed, don't call that HARP in. You have to make it your goal first to destroy that jammer, and then also wait a little bit. Wait until all of the enemy players have been killed at least once after destroying that jammer, and then you can call your HARP in, and it should, at least in theory, based on my testing, show everybody after that. Now, on the other end of this, if you're somebody that just wants to counter the HARP until it gets fixed, and you get really frustrated by pub stomping teams that are just annihilating you all the time with their HARP, the best thing you can do is run a jammer and just hang on to it all the time. The moment you hear that an enemy has called a HARP in, try to get as close as possible to several of your teammates. Put that jammer down, even if it's about to be destroyed like 2 seconds later, that's fine. Place that jammer down, and then every one of your teammates that's in that radius when you place it, they will be protected from the HARP for that life. Now, I know it is a little bit of a cheesy thing to do, and on the other end of that, it's really frustrating when that would happen to you. But at the end of the day, I'm here to give you guys tips. This is a completely broken mechanic, and I want to show you guys both sides of how to deal with it. Now, I'm really hoping these issues with the HARP are things that can be really easily sorted out and patched in the near future now that Treyarch should hopefully be back to work after holidays and everything. So I do anticipate a fix to this in the not too distant future. But until then, just follow those steps or just avoid using the HARP if you don't want to deal with situations where you may end up getting killed by somebody that's not appearing on your minimap when they absolutely should be when you call that HARP in. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I'm really looking forward to this HARP being fixed. I've had so many really good streaks completely ruined by this bug with the HARP, and it's just so frustrating to lose that streak because of this bug. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.